crazy, absolute cinema. I know a lot of people are asking about the Brahim Díaz penalty. People are saying, did they miss that on purpose? Or that was just an awful miss. Anyway, we're going to discuss if this was an intentional miss or it was just an awful miss. Stay right to the end of this video and you're going to find out. Alright, welcome back. So, I'm sure you must have seen the video of Brahim Díaz missing that last minute penalty. But before we even dive right into why or how or if this was an intentional miss or not, we need to understand what led to that particular moment. So, this match, as we all know, is the AFCON final, Senegal versus Morocco. Morocco is at home on home soil. The pressure was building up. Morocco had all the support they could ever, want. The fans, over 60,000 fans, Moroccan fans in the stadium were behind them. Even the officiating, some or many said, was behind them. And there were a lot of things that were going on in the stadium that I don't want to talk about in this video, because the main focus of this video is to talk about the drama that led to that penalty, right? So on the 92nd minute, in a game that's been mostly dominated by Senegal scored and it was disallowed. On the 92nd minute, it was disallowed because the ref blew against the Senegalese player, saying, he fouled Hakimi. And that goal was disallowed. The Senegalese team and the players and the coaching crew protested, but, it wasn't even checked by the VAR, which was the crazy part. It wasn't checked by the VAR. But because, the Senegalese believed in their own power, they believed, okay, if you disallow this goal, we can still score another goal and, at least there will be a time where you won't be able to disallow a clean goal, right? So they protested a little bit, but they didn't really make an issue out of it. But just like we all know, we all saw what happened during the Nigerian game. The referee was just behind, in support of the Moroccan team, where every little opportunity to blow for them in their support, the referee took it. And the case repeated itself in this Senegalese game. Just on the 92nd minute, the ref disallowed Senegal's goal. And on the 97th minute, while Morocco was playing a corner kick, Senegalese player, there was a Senegalese player that, there was a contact, yeah. And that ball could be debated to say, you could say that ball wasn't a penalty. You could say it's a penalty. A lot of experts are saying, yeah, it's actually a penalty. But let's just assume it's a penalty. But you just disallowed Senegalese goal. I mean, there are some things in football. We've seen these cases several times where a ref would have blown you would have made a controversial decision earlier, and just to make sure that this thing is balanced, they will overlook another decision that is even clear, maybe clearer than the one they even made the other time, just to balance, just so it looks game, especially in a game that is very high stake, like this final match, this AFCON final, especially with what people have been saying, that the Moroccans have paid off the referees and the referees are blowing in their favor and everything, just to die down all the controversies. The referee should have just overlooked that foul. But the referee didn't even say it. It was Brahim Díaz that went to meet the referee and said, yeah, but I didn't even understand what he was saying, but he was obviously complaining and ranting and telling the referee, go and check the VAR that they pulled in, blah, blah, blah. Then the ref went to check the VAR. And everybody was protesting already because they knew, because already I'm sure the coaching crew from the Senegalese team already checked the camera themselves. They did probably check the replay themselves, and they saw that this might actually be a penalty. I mean, yeah, I'm not an expert, but that ball, I feel like it's 50-50, even though it looks like a penalty. But the ref could have also said it's not, and the game would have gone on, But the ref went to check the VAR and they blew a penalty, which was crazy. Then everywhere just erupted because it was more like the last kick of the game. It was 8 minutes added, and the foul happened. All this drama happened in the 97 minutes. And obviously, if they had played that penalty at that moment without any protest and scored, that was the end of the game. And that was a very controversial decision the ref made. I felt the ref shouldn't have blown that, penalty. He should have just overlooked it, even with the complaint from Brahim Díaz. He should have just said, no, play on. He shouldn't even check the VAR. So just like he didn't check the VAR when the Senegalese goal entered. It was even before the goal entered that they said the ref blew for foul, against Senegal. And that ball wasn't really a foul because it was like a tussle between Hakimi and the Senegalese player. And the Senegalese player, while they were still while he was still in a tussle with Hakimi, just nodded the ball, and it bounced and there was a ricochet and it just entered the post. And the goal scored. It was a goal, and the ref just the ref even already blew before the ball entered the post. But obviously, the ball entered the post. Normally, if you went to check the VAR, it could have still said, okay, yeah, even though I blew a foul, it wasn't really a foul, and that was a goal. But you didn't even check the VAR. Now all of a sudden, he wants to check the VAR against Senegal to check the foul on Brahim Díaz, and he awarded the penalty. And that was where the hell broke loose, because there was a protest all over the field from the Senegalese fans in the stands. They were jumping out into the stadium, and the security were trying to stop them from invading the pitch, and it was just so crazy. The ref, the Senegalese coach told the players to get out of the pitch, and they were gonna probably just abandon the game or boycott the game at that point. And it was just like, what's going on here? This AFCON final has been great so far. We wouldn't want it to end this way. Like, it was just like it was just drama. I was watching, I was just like, what's going on today? What's going on? We never saw this coming, But I don't know what happened. They were able to settle it, and Mane intervened, which was why everybody's been commending him. He intervened and he just called the players to come and just told them to come back. Don't worry. He even had to run. There was even a time I saw him run into the dressing room to go and bring out the players, which is crazy because they left already, which is mad. Because at that point, if the penalty was given, if they had scored a penalty, that was it. It was over. Morocco has won the AFCON in 50 years. And now the main reason for this video, after all that, the players came back and the penalty was supposed to be taken. And normally, Morocco has a penalty taker that takes their penalty. Their main penalty taker. They didn't allow him to take it. Penalty, they gave it to Brahim Díaz because obviously he's the top scorer in this tournament. And even if they didn't give him that chance to score, he would have still won the Golden Boot because he was already on 5 goals and the people behind him were already out of the tournament. People like Salah and Victor Osimhen. So, I don't know why they gave him the penalty, but they gave him the penalty. And, he was trying to do a Panenka, and Mendy just caught it. Let's watch this video, of the penalty. And I'll tell you why I think this wasn't an intentional miss. Okay, now, let's watch this. So, a lot of people I can hear a lot of people saying, why didn't the Senegalese players rush Mendy and just celebrate with him and blah blah blah? This is the reason why. Number one, the match was still going on. It wasn't like he kicked the ball out of the stadium, So if that was the situation, they would have gone to, like, celebrate with him, and they still celebrated. It wasn't like they didn't celebrate. You can see if you check, you could see there was a player that jumping up, and you could see Mendy even raising up his hand, like, kissing the ball and doing everything. So it wasn't like they knew he was going to miss it, that it was like a deal. And normally, if there was a deal made to say, oh, and we've seen this happen in football, they call it fair play. Maybe when there was a foul against a player, or they gave you a penalty that you think you didn't deserve. You see players pass the penalty, like, it won't even be like they played it. They will just pass it to the keeper, so that the game will just go on, or they will kick it out of the stadium. That you will just know this was an intentional miss. This wasn't an intentional miss. I felt like Brahim Díaz knew what he was doing, and that was why he even did a Panenka, because if you know the history behind Panenka, you will know he didn't miss that penalty intentionally. And this is why Panenka, or the Panenka, was the history behind this was because that was named after a player. His name was Antonin Panenka. Antonin Panenka was a Czechoslovakia. The country was Czechoslovakia. I think it's the new, maybe Slovakia or Czech Republic, I don't know. But the country then was Czechoslovakia. They were playing against West Germany in the Euros final in 1976. Remember, note that 1976. It is very important in this context. That match happened in 1976 in the Euros final between Czechoslovakia and West Germany. As at then, both countries were both Czechoslovakia and West Germany. West Germany is now, I think, the new Germany, and Czechoslovakia is now probably the new Czech Republic and Slovakia. So that player, Antonin Panenka, had the last kick of the game. So do you see? Are you connecting the dots now? He had the last kick of the game, and people would have expected that, oh, this kind of penalty, he had to score, right? And the people were expecting him to just, at least just follow your instinct, right? But he did that. He just tipped the ball, and hoping that the keeper was going to choose a side, because normally 90% or 80% of the time the goalkeeper chooses a side, and they just dive to either of the side, right? But Panenka had it in mind that, okay, confident that, okay, the keeper was going to go either side. He just tipped the ball, or in the middle, and he scored. And it was massive because people hadn't seen anything like that before. So it was like the last kick of the game. They gave it to Antonin Panenka, and he did that, and he scored. And Czechoslovakia won the Euros in that year, in 1976. Now, this is why I think Brahim Díaz didn't intentionally lose that penalty. The last time Morocco won an AFCON was in 1976. The last time Morocco won an AFCON was in 1976, the same year as Antonin Panenka. And it was also the last kick of that game between Czechoslovakia and West Germany. And Panenka did that chipping of the ball. So Brahim Díaz probably knew this, or probably even he was looking like they already planned this thing. So now, Brahim Díaz had that penalty, and they just felt like, okay, this is the time to repeat history, right? 1976, 50 years after, now he's going to repeat the same thing, right? And they just tried to do a Panenka, but Mendy has faced something like that before. If you guys remember the Aguero chipping too, and Mendy was the one who was imposed against Aguero, and he caught the ball just like he did. He caught the ball against Brahim Díaz. Let's watch the video against Aguero. All right, so let's watch this video. You see what I'm talking about?
Aguero,
you see,
has spooned it into the arms of Mendy. Wow.
Exactly just like the game, the Brahim Díaz kick. Look at that.
A horrible.
He already went and he saw that he was chipping in and he just stayed. So, and it's not like you can see, it's not like the Chelsea players also went to rush and meet Mendy and celebrate with him. They just continue the game. Look at them. They just continue the game because it was still like during the game. You understand? That was exactly what the Senegalese players did. It wasn't like the game was over. It wasn't like he chipped the ball over the post where they have the time to celebrate. And this was like a tense game already. Why would they have to be celebrating that seriously? Of course, it was just like, wow, look at that. And people could be arguing that, oh, it was because of the pressure, what the Senegalese player did, walking out of the stadium, making an issue out of it, complaining about everything. It was the pressure that got to Brahim Díaz. But who cares? He lost the penalty. He missed the penalty. So, that was what matters, right? So, I don't think he intentionally missed that penalty. I think the pressure got to him, and he had too much time to think, and he got into his head. He thought, oh, this was the final tick of the game. Let me repeat a Panenka. He's probably has heard about the Panenka story, of course, because any football fan that has been hearing Panenka, you would have thought, okay, why did they even call this type of kick a Panenka? And you checked and you saw that it was what happened. Like I just told you, the history behind the term Panenka, and it was just a coincidence that it was in the year 1976 that the Morocco last won the AFCON that this issue of Panenka happened. So Brahim Díaz was trying to repeat history, but it failed, and I'm sure he's blaming himself right now. And it's just crazy. It's crazy because that kick would have given Morocco their first first AFCON since 1976. Their first AFCON in 50 years. So some people are saying he intentionally missed it. How would someone intentionally miss an AFCON that could have given his country their first trophy in 50 years? I don't think he would have done that. Even if they told him to do it, he would have said, no, I won't do it. If you want someone else, if that's what you want, maybe you should send someone else to go and do it. I won't be the one to do this, because a lot of fans in the stadium would not even know what's going on. So they would really be angry with him. So I don't think that was intentional. He didn't lose it intentionally. He wanted to score, because if Mendy had gone way past, and if Mendy knew he was going to lose it, he wouldn't dive to the right or to the left first before going back to catch the ball. Because if you watch that Mendy's if you watch the goal again, Mendy was already going to the right. But of course, when you play a Panenka like that, and it's slow like that, it's easy for the keeper to turn back and catch the ball. Normally, a Panenka is always faster, but his own Panenka was too slow. There was a time Zidane also did the same kind of thing in the final. I think it was against Italy, and he scored. But his own Panenka was higher, and it was even faster, so it wasn't easy for the keeper to come back. It was even against Buffon, so this wasn't like anyhow goalkeeper, and Zidane wasn't an anyhow player. So if you want to do a Panenka, you do it right. That was so awful, and I'm sure he'll be regretting it for the rest of his life. But at the end of the day, the match ended. The ref blew the final whistle at that moment, because of course they already wasted like maybe 20 minutes trying to bring back the Senegalese player to continue the game, and it was just fair for the ref to blow the final whistle at that point. And they blew the final whistle, and they went into extra time, and Senegal scored in extra time, which was crazy. And in fact, they almost even scored the second goal during that extra time, but the keeper was just too good. The Morocco keeper was very good, and I wasn't surprised when they won the goalkeeper of the tournament. He's been very good. I'm sure he's gonna win the best keeper of the year again at the CAF Awards. But it's so sad Morocco didn't win. But it's well deserved for Senegal. I would say it's well deserved for Senegal, because there's a lot of stuff that went on in that stadium during that final that I don't even want to talk about in this video, because if I start talking about it, this video is going to be long. You know, is it the fact that they were frustrating the keeper? Like, how can you have a keeper using his towel and your stewards or your ball boys or whoever was in charge of that area was going to steal his towel? Why? They did that to Iwambali, the Nigerian goalkeeper, where he had to bring in another towel and they still took the other towel too. Why? What's their issue with towels? It's not the first time you will see keepers having towels, you know, behind the post, so that when their gloves get wet, they can always use the towel to clean their gloves and, you know, dry their gloves. And it was also raining in that stadium. So why were they taking his towel? I don't understand it. You know, but that's a video that's the discussion for another day. But just so you guys know, I don't think that was an intentional miss. He just was awful with it. He wanted to repeat history like I just analyzed in this video, but it didn't work out for him. So, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that was intentional still, especially after you've, you know, listened to the history behind the Panenka, or you think you know, it was just an awful miss? Like I said, let me know. Just drop your comment in the comment section below, and make sure you give this video a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.